Hello there, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey. Niiamah Ashong here, and today we have two incredible trailblazers who are joining us here on the round table. I cannot wait for you to get to meet them so they can share more about their experience and how they consistently level up as they take on things that most other people wouldn't even dream to be possible. So, with that being said, Trishul would love to get to know you. Would you mind letting us know more about you and the game you're playing?
Yeah, name is Trishul Patel, and I achieved financial independence in before age 40. So I'm currently a wealth manager. I have a lifestyle business. I do it part-time to help people and achieve their goals. I think the game I'm playing is personally, I feel like we have one chance at life and it's short and we want to make the most out of it. So if I were to turn it into a game, probably trying to maximize the integral of my well-being from now until the rest of the time I have. Maybe that would be it.
Well, I'm glad that you're playing it. It's good to have you here. I'm excited to see where we take things from here. All right. Thanks for being here.
Awesome.
Yeah. Rohene, let's get a chance to know you. Do you mind letting us know more about you and the game you're playing?
Absolutely, Niiamah and Trishul. So great to be in the same space with you both. My name's Rohene Bouajram, and the game that I'm playing is really a game that's focused on how do I move some of the illusions and the contradictions that I faced in my career as an educator, as a woman of color in leadership spaces, into really rethinking the beliefs that I've been told around success, around metrics of success, and the kind of life that I want to build. When I turned 40, which was just last year, I made a commitment to myself that I was going to make the next decade my best decade. And I can't tell you how much fun I'm having around really turning those illusions into new ways of being through ancestral wisdom and through the leadership framework that I'm building as part of my doctorate. So excited to be here and excited to share perhaps some of those illusions that I hope some of you will reconsider no longer believing are true.
It's a fun way to start out this conversation. I'm glad that you're here. There's elements here of rethinking the beliefs around success and the metrics of success and
Mm.
the various illusions that we hold. So I want to play. I want to play with that. It's interesting here. I'm like, I wonder where the conversation might lead if we start off in that place. So what I'm going to ask this from the standpoint of giving us all a chance to be on our edge first, right? So Rohini, I'm like, I am really curious about some of the illusions that you've seen, but
Mhm.
I'm going to play it from the standpoint of like, rather than giving us like the things that you've already identified, like I'll be really curious, and this goes for all of us. What's an illusion based on that? And maybe Rohini, you can give us a definition of what you would consider an illusion, so we can all be on the same page. Why don't we start with
Mhm.
that definition, and then I'm going to go and give the question in. Well, how would you define an
Yeah.
illusion for us, at least to share in this space today?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, yeah, that's such a great question, and a question that we probably will all come up with different interpretations based on where we were raised or how we were raised and the environment that we experienced, kind of developing this idea of success. And so for me, I grew up and was raised in a southern part of Africa in Zimbabwe. And it was a country that was colonized by the British and then later on gained independence. And I spent a good chunk of my early childhood and my adolescence there, and then immigrated to Canada as an uninvited settler and guest on stolen land and on land that has been historically violent and systemically and persistently difficult and challenging for Indigenous communities, as well as those who consider themselves part of the diaspora, which is me. And so to come up with a definition of an illusion is to really say, how do I start to look at what I've been told as a woman of color as the only path, the only lane for me to truly reach what has been societally, culturally defined as successful? And I offer that definition for all of us because our gender, our sexual preference, how we identify ourselves in terms of lifestyle choices is going to differ based on the definition of the illusion that we will then start to perhaps question, critique, and reimagine. And so I would offer that as the starting definition, knowing that it will evolve and it will change. And I'm sure Trishul will have a different version, and Niiamah, you'll have a different version, and those who are listening will have a different version. But ultimately, I hope it will get us to is to a redefined way of being. Because I truly believed that what has been imposed on us as the height of success, the epitome of getting validation around that success, is the illusion. And once we break that apart and almost, disconnect from it, our life changes and our being changes. And that's really the space that I want us all to be in.
Yeah, thanks, Rohene. There's some things that are taking place as you're speaking here. A couple things. One, Outliers. Rohine's been on this podcast before, right? I want to do us a favor and go back and let's have to see what the specific number is that you're there. And while you're able to share what you were thinking, what I'm already hearing right off the bat is like your definition of success has already changed. So if you go and listen to that episode and this, you just what I got was you cut through being this is what is really on my heart. This is what I stand for. One of the things I really appreciate about you is that you introduce what you want to introduce into the conversation, right? You're not waiting for it to be, you're not waiting for the invitation on it. You're just we're going here. This is
Right here.
yeah, and I'm gonna put it into this space, and we're gonna go with it. And Outliers, I want to call that out. As we go through here, note there. I said this before we hit record, but we're modeling what the future can look like. We're not just here to explain it. We're sharing it. We're modeling it here. And Rohene, I just want to just really reflect back in that I see you right now as being a living demonstration of what happens when you decide to see the illusions and pierce through them in order to be. And so I want to make sure I that we capture this right here.
I appreciate you, Niiamah. Thank you for seeing me.
Yeah, no, I got you.
It's been a journey.
Yeah. Well, you're letting yourself be seen, so that's really real here. As you say this, I would love for us to each bring in one of the illusions that we currently have, at least as we define it, and something that we're playing through right now. And so, for me, I'll bring in mine because I think it's only fair to start with that in here. Okay, I'll speak to the truest illusion that I'm working on. Everything else feels like it would be so for me, the one of the illusions that I'm currently working through was the illusion of the success of my business. And so for years, I'm a positive thinker. I'm able to see the opportunity in many different things. And it wasn't until my daughter was born and I was holding her in my arms and we made some choices around childcare that I recognized. I'm like, hey, the stability of my business is not actually here. I'm in good spirits around things, but this isn't what I think it is yet. And I've been going through this process to both redefine the business and build that up in a different way. But it's also led me to your point of being. It's caused me to have to really question not myself, but the things that I used to hold as true. Because once I saw that illusion was not true, I was wondering how many other things did I set up to kind of keep myself blindfolded or keep myself in the fog to reinforce that illusion. And so you're seeing this right here is a part of me working through it in real time. But I'm feeling called to be real about that right now. I'm curious about you all. What's an illusion that you discovered that changed the whole game for you, or what's something that you're working through right now? Let's keep this real for people.
I could chime in a bit on that. It's Trishul again. I think, yeah, Niiamah, what you said resonates with me as well. I'm, a parent and I have a young child, and all of these questions come up all the time. I think one thing I've realized, but I have to keep realizing again and again, is how impermanent everything is. And in our mind, we have this vision of if I do X, Y, and Z, then everything will be okay, right? And even after you meet that checkpoint, there's going to be something else, and there's going to be something else. And the more you try to hold on, to that vision or to something, you just have to keep reminding yourself all of this can go away.
Yeah.
It's nothing is permanent. And the time we have is just so precious. So it certainly can't be always about that next life goal and that checkbox and that award or that trophy or that number of viewers or that extra zero in the bank account, right? Whatever it happens to be, it, that long-term sustainability of well-being, I think, has to challenge that impermanence and come to terms with it again and again and again.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm just going to jump on it.
Yeah,
Because,
please. We're going to, it's open
because
mic.
absolutely. Because I just think, Trishu, what you're mentioning for me, like the word that just like jumped sort of, that I felt kind of resonate in my body was this call to surrender, that each of us are really embodying. And it takes so much courage for us to surrender to the unknown and the uncertainty. And so the illusion for me, and this is kind of what I've been thinking of in terms of the versions of myself, Rohene, and the many deaths that I've had to watch myself go through, as I've laid to rest an illusion, which meant laying to rest a part of me that I no longer wanted to be a part of me. And then saying, okay, now this is the new reinvented version of myself, has been letting go this idea that I want people to like this new version of me, right? That I'm going to be accepted, that they're going to understand, why did I pivot my business in this direction, that they're going to appreciate where I'm going and the vision that I do have, whether it's different or in line with what they saw before. And it really wasn't until I would say in the last 2 or 3 months. So this is very recent. It's still very real. It's very live in my body, where I said, and I'm not going to swear on the podcast, although I did it once and I'm not going to do it again, where I said, X this, right? And it was so freeing. It was so freeing to get to that place of just surrendering to those who are going to like me and enjoy what I have to say and what I have to share are going to enjoy it. And those who aren't. And I don't have to care anymore about carrying both. And I think of my grandmother. My grandmother always said this when I was young, where she says, Rohene, you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And I remember this young, sassy version of me going, well, yeah, who cares? Who doesn't drink tea anyway? What's wrong with them? And that was me then. But then somehow between then and now, the conditioning, the people pleasing, all of those things that got infiltrated in my definition of success made me a different version of that sassy young version. So I think in many ways, some of that illusion of people pleasing is also returning to probably a person that we knew ourselves to be when we were younger, that sometimes has shifted and evolved over time. So that's something that is very live for me right now at this moment as we speak.
I'm so glad you brought in how live this is for you and your body right now, because we can't see it, right? And I talk about, like, we often compare how we feel on the inside with how others look on the outside, right? And so what I'm getting from you is like if we were going to really see you, we would see that like you're in your new reality that you're creating. And at the same time, it's still fresh, it's still new, it's aligned, it makes you come alive, but it's not like it's easy per se, but it's what you were doing. Yeah. Okay. Tell us a little bit more about that and to play out with that.
Yeah, and I think of well, first of all, can I just I've been meaning to say this because I'm like, don't forget to say this because I don't want to forget, and that is like, Trishul, financial freedom.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah. That's the place we're going to be going to in a bit.
Okay, good, because I'm like, tell me more, please.
We're going to that,
right? But I can't help but always kind of connect this to a reference. So over the 2 weekends ago, I went camping with my family, and while we were camping, okay, it was not full on camping. It was glamping, because we were in a trailer and we had a TV, but it was still camping in
That's
a different
camping to
way.
me, just so you know. That's my kind of camping.
Thank you, Niiamah.
It counts.
It does. Okay, I appreciate you both, because I feel like there'll be somebody who'll come to me and tell me that's not camping. But we watched on one of the nights, we sort of projected, yes, our Netflix and our little laptop that we took, K-pop Demon Hunters. It was okay, all right, see.
All right,
I am
if you're not watching this right now, we Trishul and I both had like a yep, makes sense.
yeah,
Continue. That
makes
just
sense,
yep,
right?
go ahead here.
So I'm watching this, and there's so many layers to K-pop Demon Hunters, right? And we could take it in different directions, but I want to talk about this one part in the movie where the characters, and Rumi and all of the different characters, they do the space. I think they're just about to eat like some ramen, and they do the space where they're just like, and it's like the most like what we would define as hideous, ugly, whatever face. And I had to pause the movie. Now, to everyone's dismay, because they were like, it's not fair. Like, we got to continue the movie. But I had to pause it because I was in fits of laughter because I thought, finally, we get to see the realness of these characters. Because let's be honest, 24/7, none of us are looking great,
Right.
right? None of us. And so to be able to be seen in that way, where somebody gets to see you do the most ugliest, hideous face, and you just move on and you're not bothered by it, I was like, I want to be like Rumi. I want to be like the K-pop Demon Hunters characters, because how freeing, how freeing. And I know there's other layers that and I'm sure Trishul and Niiamah, you could add, but I had to bring that because that's what's life for me, is that surrender, but that expansiveness of, so what? Who cares if I do the most ugliest face? I don't care anymore. But if it bothers you that much, sounds like a you problem.
I feel like I should just say it. Like a few days ago, my daughter was eating ramen, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do it the way they did it on K-pop Demon Hunters." And she kept doing it throughout the meal with her chopsticks.
I'm like, so I'm over here. I haven't watched it yet, and now I'm like, okay, this has to go straight up to the
Spoiler.
top. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm all right. I get it. We're good with this here. Thanks for doing it tastefully. There's something really real to that component of this here, right? Because I often talk about, well, there's a couple of things I'm hearing. One of the things I'm hearing is freedom, right? Is freedom. I hear, Rohene, you're choosing to be free, and you're like expanding in it, and the freedom layers are continuously like opening up in front of you, right? Uh, you made a call back to how Trishul introduced himself here, and so I look at that as like, all right, that's both one way of a definition of success, and it's also freedom. It's in the element of financial freedom, right? So Trishul, tell us a little bit about like within the context of this conversation here, like tell us about like how you look at financial freedom, how you like determine it. Because I've had clients who like they've had money in the bank, but they've been afraid that at any moment it can go. So they weren't truly free. They've
Yeah.
had the money, but they weren't actually free. So like I'm really curious about the freedom part of the financial freedom for you.
Yeah. So I think you can think about wealth as the differential of how much money you want and how much money you have, right? So you can be the poorest person on the planet, but if you don't want a penny more, you're rich.
Right. Oh,
And
wait. We got to let that sit for a bit because that was so good. Okay, sorry. Okay, now we can go.
so it is about perspective, right? You can I've been in the financial industry for a long time, and I was very career oriented up until a certain point because I realized my main goal was to be able to do what I want to do with my time. And that's what financial freedom is to me. And I got to that point when my daughter was born, and it was a decision that I made with my wife. And I said, look, we don't need this anymore, right? There's far more important things. And I left the career.
It's hitting me right here, like the freedom to do what it is that you want with your time,
Yeah.
right? This I have a sense that this conversation is going to be around freedom in many different forms of it, right? And it's interesting to me. What's playing out for me is like these are the kind of conversations I used to have on the reg, like freedom and power and like they're questions that they're the conversations that now as we're having it, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember what these were like. I remember what it's like to play in this place, to be in this place of the pursuit of freedom, and not even the pursuit of it, but the actual having of freedom in real time, right? I would actually say the expansion of freedom. I think that honors what's there while also allowing for more. Right? How do you all look at this year? So you'll use freedom as the lens that we're going through, but how do you look at like the your journey of expanding the freedom that you have right now?
Mm. Ooh. I mean, I'll just Rohene here. I'm thinking of how, Trishul, and it's interesting, Niiamah, you both, like, it sounds like a very significant part of your journey was the birth of your children, and I know for me, I can say the same, like the birth of my son um opened up such a different way of looking at life, and it almost feels like, a different portal opens in really deconstructing and reconstructing a different reality for how we want to exist. And so so in response to your question, I think of the line in Redemption Song by Bob Marley, you know, where I love the way you both, first of all, thank you both, because sometimes there are some spaces where I'll mention things and then I'll hear crickets and I'm like, okay, now I've got to explain this a little bit more. But Bob Marley says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery, right? And then of course he continues, but like I think of that line, and I grew up, my dad was in a band, and so he would always every weekend on Sundays with his band be playing, and he would be sort of strumming his guitar, and I remember as a kid always going in and coming in and like offering like can you sing this, and that was always the song that I would ask for, and I would wait for that line because I would just like I would belt out the words, and I didn't have the voice, but that was what I wanted to hear. And so for me, that song that replays in the background in my mind is my definition, is and that's why I think for like when I come back to the illusions, like how can I free my mind from the illusions of what we've been conditioned to believe, and that comes to freedom of time, liberation in making choices, and not feeling the sense that I need to have $1 million, although that would be nice, but also just getting to decide when I wake up, what do I want to do with my day, and how do I want to spend it without having that being dictated by someone else is huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling you there. Trishul, anything coming to you on this one? It could be either in direct response or anything else that might be showing up.
Yeah, just a bit of a callback to the illusion notion. I think a lot of my personal struggle, and I've seen it with others, is there's this tendency to have a facade that's outward facing, that society sees, and you try to either mirror back what you think you should be doing and feeling, and maybe from a clinical sense, it's like a form of masking your true self, right? And it can be very encompassing at times, to the point where it can overwhelm your decisions and your thought processes, and it can take control of your trajectory. And often you have to ask yourself, you know, recalibrate. Is this really what I'm going for? Right? What am I hoping to obtain, with this outward facade? And yeah, is it really my true self? Is it what I value the most? And trying to minimize those barriers, I think allows one, or has allowed myself, to be more just comfortable in both environments, outward facing and inward facing.
As y'all are talking, I'm really grateful for the two of you because I feel like you end up being a mirror for me right now. Some of the things that are happening, that are thoughts that are going through my mind are, yeah, whatever happened to like being first? I'm like, I can get a lot of doing conversations nowadays. I'm like, I missed my being spaces. I have an answer to that. I was like, oh, I was being, and I wasn't making enough money. To go back to the illusion, I was like, oh, the illusion was like I broke it right then, right? But as we're talking, I'm like, but there's real truth in the levels of allowing yourself to be more, and so I'm grateful for that. I want to play, this might be a bit in the illusion game, might be in the metrics of success game or in the freedom game. I'm not sure exactly. But there's a thing I like to do when we start talking about uh when we get into like the higher level like components of this, right? Where it feels like, all right, this on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like I would love to be free, but I just like I got bills to pay. All right. Like I would love to, my coworkers couldn't take it, right? Um, what's come to me is the element of like, what does it actually take to walk this path, at least as you have experienced it? What does it actually take to it? Like Rohene, you said earlier, like being able to be free and like regardless of what other people think, right? So the question that's come to me, the way I'm looking at it is, uh, I actually want to look at it in terms of false flags, right? And so the way that I'm looking at this is, what's something that you thought you were doing wrong or that felt uncomfortable, and you're like, oh, this can't be it because it's not this wouldn't be leading me to more freedom or to more being or to more to my definition of success. That when you were able to take a step back, you actually realize like, oh wait, that was the path the entire time. What's something where that might have showed up for you, where it looked like you were going off in the wrong direction, but then at the end of the day, you came back to it because you're like, this is where actually the new levels lie for me. Anyone got anything on that? Take your time. Don't
I
feel rushed.
know.
Like, no, like, yeah, take your time.
It's a
It's
beautiful
like,
question.
yeah. Because I'm all like, as I ask these, I ask I'm like, can I answer the question I just put out? Is the real thing. Uh but I like, I'll even just talk about right now, like the podcast in itself right now. All right. Like I've been doing podcasting on and off for 10 years,
Mhm.
and uh it wasn't until the last 2 years, last year, that I said, oh wait, what if I just like actually got really good at this? You know? And I kept turning it off thinking it was the wrong direction. And then I came like, now I'm like, oh wait, it wasn't that it wasn't the right direction. I just needed to level up my game and also bring my levels of commitment to make this into something. Everything works. This works for me, like let me do the work to figure out how to make it work at the level that I want it to, you know.
Mm.
That's the first thing that comes in. I might come back with another round that's a level deeper than that, but like that's the first thing that comes in. Either of you two got anything on this?
I'll say it's a tough one because hindsight's 2020, and I kind of know
Mhm.
now after the fact that the things that felt like a struggle, oh boy, they so helped, right?
Mhm.
Over the life of my career, I made a early intention to just keep my lifestyle pretty locked down, to the point where I had to make some sacrifices, along the way,
Mhm.
some pretty big ones. And yeah, I don't know if I didn't really question it per se, but you see your peers doing something quite different. But again, hindsight's 2020. I don't regret it now. So no, of course not. It's that time freedom, right? That I've been able to pay down and get dividends from, that's making the impact today. Now, part of me did think, though, once I reached that point, everything will get easier. Another callback, right?
Wait. You're telling me it did it?
Life is hard, right?
Life is, yeah.
It's
Mhm.
that whole notion of, if you win that lottery, and this has been studied, of course, a few
Mhm.
years later, your overall happiness is probably going to be the same.
Oh,
And
that sucks.
yeah,
What?
Right?
well,
You're
This,
telling
this
us
is
that?
this is the thing,
Imagine.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, but there's a flip side to that too. You know,
Yeah.
that they study people who have gone through trauma, like they lost a limb or something devastating.
Hmm.
Well, it's bad, but a few years later, they return to their baseline, right?
Hmm.
But it's those little changes over time that you can put into effect that can compound, that can change that barometer, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, one big thing out of the way, but there's a million things to optimize in someone's life, right? There's no end. You can do it forever if you really wanted to. So yeah, the thought that once you attain that next goal, right, all of a
Mhm.
sudden you won't have to worry anymore, right? You won't have to struggle. And even now, my days are incredibly full. I get more agency to decide on how they're full, but there's no end to the things that the shoulds, right? There's no end to the shoulds, no matter how many check boxes you cover.
Mhm.
Thanks for that, Trishul. That's
Yeah,
hitting me. Um,
that is.
yeah, there's what's going on for me is I'm wondering how many things am I actually put in as like, well, once this has occurred, then this other thing will happen. And
Yeah.
for better or for worse, Trishul, you're obliterating that in my mind right now. Some might say liberated me from that feel, but like another part of me is like, oh, huh. Am I actually getting to am I actually addressing the thing that needs to be addressed, or am I circumventing it thinking that if I do X, I will get Y, when it's like, no, really you should just go for Y. All right. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna play that out. Rohene,
Yeah.
curious what's playing for you.
Oh, you remember I said, I think at the beginning when we all kind of checked in, Niiamah, you asked us what dessert would we be, if we had to describe ourselves. So I'm gonna take you down across into the creme brulee, which was the dessert that I offered, and go deep. For me, what is really coming to me is I got divorced in 2019, separated then, and then divorce takes a while, and and I offer this because I think for many of us as outliers and as trailblazers, we can focus on the business, right? We can talk about the technical aspects, but the reality is our souls and our ethos and our lifestyles are so interconnected with our businesses and our mission, right? And so I think of myself. I entered a new identity at a time when there was so much reinvention happening. My career was shifting, and I was navigating now being, a divorced woman and needing to create a beautiful new relationship with my now ex-husband and creating a good co-parenting arrangement because we both loved our son. And right from the beginning, we said the last thing we want to do is have this influence or impact him. And so I'm now, several years away from that pivotal change and decision. And I've had to really grieve the future that I thought I was going to have, grieve the amount of support that it takes to sometimes come home and have somebody who just rubs your shoulder, and say, hey, you're okay. Tell me about your day. And to have a second person just say, look, don't worry, I'll get food. You just go and relax, So I don't have that anymore. And I think at the time that the decisions that we made to part ways, we didn't think those things through. We didn't think about the loss of what that would end up having. And so I think about that as in response to your question, is sometimes the choices that we make, which are often crossroads, right? They lead us down one path or they lead us down another path, is we never know what's going to happen along those different paths. And we can sometimes, in my case, there was a moment where I stopped and I was like, could I go back? And I can't, right? There's that finality of making a decision to end something. And so I have to just keep going forward, not knowing, will I ever experience being in a committed relationship? Will I ever experience again having that level of commitment and bond. And so I say that because I think for some of us who are also navigating this new sort of status, it is scary and it comes with a lot of loss and it comes with a lot of grief. But to know that over time, which brings me so much joy, Trishul, with you saying that the research on trauma and the research is that people through resilience bounce back to a different threshold that they believed at some point they would never attain or get back to. And so in many ways, that threshold of bouncing back can look negative, but it also can look positive on other ways. And so I offer that in this space because we we're building so much, but we're also building ourselves at the same time. And sometimes building ourselves means rebuilding a different person who we once were into existence and into being without a manual and without a template.
I really appreciate this here because as you're saying this, one, it just takes me to life.
Mhm.
Two, there's a really interesting crossroad that took place for me when I guess it was about 5 years ago. So it was during COVID, during lockdowns. At that time, I felt like I was showing up as a powerful coach. Like I would walk into the rooms and like the rooms I had gravitas,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, you would walk
Yeah.
in like, who's that guy,
Yeah.
Um, and lockdown started happening. I was in Singapore at the time, and I was like reaching out to people to try and be of support. And what it felt like was like I was just completely missing them. Like they're like, you don't understand what's happening right now. And I'm like, this is like, I got you. And we
Yeah.
were just on two completely different wavelengths. And so I made a choice. And this to me feels like when you bring this up, it feels like it was such a small choice. But it like I am a different person as a result of it. I made a choice to stop meditating at that point because I was like,
Mm.
I'm too powerful at this point. I'm like, I'm not, I literally asked myself, like, am I human? Like, am I missing? Like something major is happening and it's not impacted me. What am I missing? And so
Mm.
I thought there was something wrong with me or that I couldn't like meet them in that moment. And I gave up something that was really true for me.
Mm.
And it's been what I didn't realize was everyone else was learning like how to come up and meet where I would be, where I was at, where I had chosen to come down. And I'm
Mm.
like, it's been years. I know it, but I like to get back into that practice. I feel like to the point of the creme brulee, like
Mhm.
that is where the like the deep soft
Yeah.
center lives for me. Like the element of being is accessed through the meditation. And at the same time, there was like one decision made on at a certain point where it's like by the time I realized the consequences of those decisions, I'm like, somehow I fell down the mountain and I really don't know if I want to climb this mountain all again, given what it took to get here.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why I think I like to like inoculate people in some way, shape, or form of like, hey, by the way, if you're doing this and it feels hard, good. That means that you're probably on the right track. Don't give it up.
Yeah.
Don't give it up because this like they make it seem be authentic. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll just be authentic. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, the people who know you may not love
Yeah.
that authentic self. How do
I
you be
like
with
that.
that? You know? Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I
So
appreciate it. I
true.
appreciate you both.
No.
I appreciate you
And
both.
thank well, and I just want to echo my gratitude as well, Niiamah. That I don't think we talk enough about getting to a place of, that sense of like, yeah, I'm the boss and I got this, right? I don't think we because it's hard sometimes for us to own that and to say, yeah, I was there, I am there. That's the status that I've held, and then to then say, but I also had to, recalibrate in a way that allowed me to be able to meet people where they're at. And I think it takes a lot of courage to own that and to take that stance, but to also connect it back to what does that mean when you come across people who are on different journeys, on different life paths, in different circumstances, where there is that um, almost negotiation of connection.
All right, can I play with this here? We're about to start wrapping up
Please
this
play.
conversation. I thought I was done. I thought I was
I
literally
know,
I'm
I
done. Like, let's
know.
go wrap up. And then you bring this in. I'm like, all right, looks like we have to go here. So I also recognize this here, and Outliers, you can let me know if this annoys you. I'm not going to change it, but it's just like I'll just be curious about this. Uh, I'm a meta conversationalist. I can be in the convo, but I can also I observe how I'm having the conversation more than like sometimes being in it. So just I
Mhm.
recognize that in this space here. I'm like, oh, how we're doing this conversation is getting me. So Raheem, you said something and it was beautiful and it touched my
Mhm.
heart. But I also there was also one part of it where I was like, this didn't show up for me. And he said like I can recognize the courage, right? And I was like,
Mhm.
at this point it doesn't feel courageous. There was a time when that like
Yeah.
would have like made my heart beat, my palms would have gotten
Mhm.
sweaty.
Mhm.
I would have been like, okay, 3 seconds of courage, just say it.
Right.
Uh, but I think that time, like at least when it came to what you just heard,
Yeah.
of owning yeah, no, I was really good at this, you know, that
Yeah.
part, like that practice is now like the nervous system isn't getting anything off of that,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And I want to call that in. I want to bring that in because I feel like two
Mhm.
things. One, this is part of the like things that I thought needed to happen. I thought it needed to always feel hard, or I
Mm.
wasn't actually going deeper. Like it doesn't give me the
Mhm.
same kind of I don't know, immediate reward from
Yeah.
being like, okay, I'm challenging my nervous system. I'm running into something that's like, I went to a thing before when someone's like, I've never been with a group of people who actively want to be triggered, and that was like my
Yeah.
world, right? Uh,
Yeah.
and then like now I'm like, huh, that would have done something to me in the past, and I'm grateful you brought this up. But I'm like, this doesn't feel like courage right now. In fact, and now I'm confused because I'm like, I know what growth is. Growth has been that those like
Right.
nervous system moments, but now
Yeah.
I'm like, nope, I think I'm okay. Should I be going for something new or not? So
Mm.
I want to call that in because it's
Thank
like my
you.
old level of being would have
Yeah.
totally been like all about the courage. And
Yeah.
now there's something else that's happening where I'm just like, no, this is just honest. This is just how I'm feeling. This is just the truth here.
I love
I don't know
that.
what to make of it. So I'll put it into
Oh.
the space. But that is, and that laugh, even that laughter was me trying to um uh dissipate some of the tension that I was feeling inside,
Yeah.
you know? So let me call that into space. I'd love to get some like comments on this and then we'll wrap up for today.
I think I might just tag on to no matter who you are or where you are, life
Mhm.
is gonna put up these insurmountable barriers, from your perspective. And I heard one theory of success saying, that those that kind of want it the most are the ones that make it over to the other side. But at the same time, I think there's something more intrinsic that we can hold on to. It's the notion that like, you know, kind of picture an animal like a gazelle like grazing on the savannah. It's enjoying its meal. There is danger, right?
Mm.
At any moment, its existence could end. But is it really concerned its whole life
Mm.
about that?
Mm.
And is there any situation you could put the gazelle in that it couldn't handle to the best of its ability?
Mm.
And that's true for all these animals, and it's true for us as well. It's the worry that we attach to those uncomfortable feelings that makes it so hard. But internally, we have that capacity to deal with any situation.
Mhm. Uh, I mean, Trishul, I feel like you've brought us like full circle, to recognize that. And thank you for giving also a metaphor. Like I just have to say, I love metaphors, and I love us being able to connect to analogies. Because I do think, similar to what you've all shared, is we're all on different journeys. And we're and Niiamah, thank you for bringing up nervous systems, because I do think some of the healing work that I'm involved in, and some of the work that I create as part of my leadership framework is really about embodiment and spiritual practices, and how do we tap into ancestral wisdom. And so much of that is always taking the lens of trauma and the historical violence that a lot of our generations before us and ancestors have had to experience. And yet there's also a lot of wisdom that has come through for us. And so I do believe that there are many of us who, as part of our healing journey, our nervous systems are being rewired as we expose ourselves to different people, to different conversations, where the things that maybe, as you've shared, Niiamah, that would have normally triggered you in one way or shown up in a different interpretation in one way, now years later don't have the same influence or impact. And I think that's beautiful, right? To acknowledge that, to recognize that, and to know that we're each on these journeys. And the reminder, like Trishul, that you've given us, which is that each of us, as we're making sense of our realities and the worlds that we're in, we're going to make different choices when we're in our 20s. We're going to make different choices when we're in our 30s and so forth. And some of that will be because we no longer care enough about things that we used to care about before. And so I wish each of us all the best on the journey, with the hope that we will care and hold self-compassion in what sometimes can feel a lot of tension between what was and what is and what still is to come. So thank you for the conversation that we've had.
Well, I'm grateful for all of you. It's been a really great time here. Outliers, this conversation doesn't just live between our ears or in the past here. It actually is a living gift that we get to share with everyone. So please take some time here. This podcast grows by word of mouth, but really I think I want something better than word of mouth, by like speed of impact. Maybe that's what I'll go with. And so like feel free to share this out on your socials. We'd love for people to generally get a chance to experience and become a part of this conversation. We also ask that you think of one person in your life right now who would really benefit from this conversation. Someone where you might have been having a conversation similar to this just the other day, and send this message to them. Something tells me like this is the real way that this thing is going to keep growing, by getting to the right person at the right time with the right message for them in that moment. And then we'll just keep playing and growing with each other. So we're going to end our conversation here, Rohene and Trishul. Like the way that we do it is that I'm going to ask you to share your the way that Outliers can go deeper down the journey with you, the best way for them to do that in terms of contact and such. And then share one insight that you got for yourself. This is not for Outliers, but like how have you transformed, if at all, as a result of being here today? All right, we'll start with you, Rohene, and then we'll go to you, Trishul. I'm like putting all the names
I know,
together,
like
right? I'm like,
We're all one. One team.
we are, we really are.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, well, so please stay connected with me. I am on all social handles, LinkedIn, Instagram, under Rohene Bouajram, or also under my podcast, Unspeakable Leadership. And I think the insight that I have for that has transformed me is I actually notice myself. There used to be times when somebody would say something and I would be thinking of what can I say in response to them, or like a rebuttal or something that's thought-provoking. And I actually found myself in the space being so present that when it came time to talk, I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about what I had to say. So I'm just going to say whatever's going to come through at the moment. And that feels so comforting to have um, to be in a space where I can be so present with both of you. And many of these spaces are rare for me to find and to be in. And so I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Trishul, thank you, Niiamah, because these spaces are nourishing and they are so fulfilling.
You're very appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And then Trisha, want to bring us home?
Yeah. Well, thank you both, Niiamah, Rohene. This has been an awesome conversation. You can find me on my podcast, My Money Spectrum. I think the word that keeps resonating through my mind right now is just like illusion. So I think I'm going to meditate on that a bit. I feel like I want to think a bit more about what that means in my current state. So thank you both.
Oh, I appreciate all of you here. You got me. You got me good. Right. And so we're gonna wrap up this conversation, Outliers. Until the next time we talk, be you on purpose. Journey on.